Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for coming. We'll get started in just a minute here. Just give one more minute here for people to join, and then we'll get started. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started here. My name's Katie. I'm the implementation manager here at Quartzy. So I just help implement and all the integrations that we have here. And today we're going over the Benchling integration. So we do have a integrations webinar series that we're doing right now. Today's on 5/17 is Benchling. And then next week on next Wednesday, we have a custom development webinar. So we'll be going over our public API as well as setting up, data syncing to Google Sheets, Excel, stuff like that. And so that's next Wednesday. All right, so today we'll be going over the integration overall, what it does and the pain points that it solves. And then we'll go over how to sync an inventory item from Quartzy to Benchling, how to add requests in Quartzy from Benchling, and as well as how to set up the integration. And then at the end, we'll stop for questions and answers. So if you do have a question during the webinar, just throw it into this Zoom's Q&A box or the chat, and we'll go over these questions at the end. All right, so first off, these are some common tools used on a day-to-day basis in a research lab. So at the top here, we have these personas. So we have a scientist, a lab manager, and an accountant. And you can see below that, we have these tools such as Benchling, Quartzy, and then QuickBooks and NetSuite, which we also have integrations with. But here you can see, my apologies. You can see the goal of the Benchling tool is to help scientists perform experiments and research to hit those company milestones. In Benchling, scientists are able to record experiments and protocols, as well as attach any important documentation like the material safety data sheets, streamline and automate research user flows, and centralize and organize all of that R&D data. Quartzy, of course, as you're familiar with, you can use Quartzy to track your lab's inventory, process your lab's requests and orders, and you can also use Quartzy to purchase from us if you're in the US. All right, so without the Benchling integration, scientists are losing valuable time. They have to actually copy and paste or export and then import data from Quartzy to Benchling and vice versa. So that communication is very manual and it's often error prone. So scientists usually will live in Benchling for their research and their protocols, experiments, etc. And then they'll only usually use Quartzy when they run out of supplies to go and place their request and let their lab manager know that they need those supplies. And while the lab managers usually live in Quartzy. So we're trying to bridge the gap between Benchling and Quartzy so that everyone knows that everyone's basically on the same page. So the Benchling integration helps because it quickly and easily syncs data from Benchling and Quartzy. So with the integration, scientists are able to create new order requests in Quartzy without leaving their Benchling tenant. They're also able to sync new inventory items from Quartzy to Benchling. So when you receive an item that you had ordered from Quartzy, and then you're putting it into your inventory, that inventory item is automatically created in your Benchling registry. And then same thing if you change or edit that inventory item, that change or edit is also synced to your Benchling tenant. All right, so here's an example of syncing an inventory item to Benchling. So this is mostly an automatic process. All you actually have to do is add an item in your Quartzy lab, and the item is automatically synced to Benchling. So you can see here, I just added an item in my lab, my Quartzy lab. This is what the item looks like in Quartzy. And then on the right-hand side here, this is what the item looks like in your Benchling registry. Right. And then adding a new request in Quartzy from Benchling is also very easy. So you would go to the registry, and then you'll check off the items that you would like to add requests for. So you can see I've checked off this specific item here. And then I went to this workflow menu option here. And I have my workflow set up, add requests in Quartzy. And we'll go over this process later on how to add this workflow. So I selected this add request in Quartzy workflow. It takes me here. I can add the additional details such as the quantity I'd like, the date I need it by, an assignee, all that data is there. And then clicking create will then create this request in Quartzy. So you can see it's created as a brand new request. So integrating Quartzy with Benchling, any Quartzy lab admin who also has org admin permissions in Benchling can set up this integration. So there's a couple of steps you need to take in Benchling and then one step in Quartzy, and then you're good to go. So we'll go over these here. There's a couple of prerequisites. So your login email addresses must be the same to log in to Quartzy and Benchling. The Benchling features that you need access to will be the developer platform, the connections and apps feature, the registry. And then if you would like to be able to add requests from Benchling to Quartzy, you also need access to the workflows feature. And then again, the roles and permissions, you have to be a lab admin in your Quartzy lab. And in Benchling, you must be an organization admin. And then again, if you would like to add requests, you also need the Benchling workflows license. So these are the basic steps that you need to take in Benchling to integrate with Quartzy. So in Benchling, you would first create a project for the integration. Usually just name it something like Quartzy integration project. You'll create a registry entity schema. So this would be specific to all the Quartzy fields and everything that we have in Quartzy. So we'll be able to sync all that data to your Benchling tenant. And then again, optionally, if you'd like to be able to add requests from Benchling to Quartzy, you'll also want to create a workflow task schema. So then you'd go back into Quartzy. You'll select the types, the inventory types that you want to sync from your lab to Benchling. You can definitely select all, but some labs may only want to sync maybe antibody or just one type or another. So you can make those selections here and then use this download app manifest button to download the app manifest. And then this is what you're going to import into Benchling, and it creates the Quartzy Sync app. So once that's imported to your Benchling tenant, you're going to establish permissions for the app that you just imported. So you'll give it write and create permissions. And then you'll want to map the integration to the appropriate schemas. So in an earlier step, you made that registry schema and the workflow schema. So you'll want to map the integration to these schemas. And then you just email us with a little bit of information like your Quartzy lab name and then your URLs for your Benchling tenants. So if you have a staging or testing or sandbox Benchling tenant, we can put you in that first. You can test everything out, make sure everything's good to go before you go live. Otherwise, we can send it straight to production, but we would just need those different URLs. And so after it's set up on our end, we just get back to you and confirm your setup is complete, and then you're good to start using the integration. All right, so is the Benchling integration included in all subscription plans? So it is included in the professional, enterprise, and nonprofit plans. And then it's available also as an add-on to the starter plan. All right, and so are there any questions here? All right. So no questions yet. But if there's any improvements or changes that you would like to see in Quartzy's Benchling integration, go ahead and let me know now or email us at support@quartzy.com. We're always iterating based on user feedback. So we'd love to hear, what you would like to be able to sync from Quartzy to Benchling and vice versa. What kind of features you'd like to see with this integration. All that feedback is incredibly valuable. It looks like Emily actually asked the question. She asked, is there any strain library integration with Quartzy? So we don't have a strain library integration specifically, but any type of item or type of item in Quartzy is able to be synced to Benchling, but it'll sync to the Benchling registry as an entity. Pause for one moment for any other questions. All right. All right, so here I just have some resources. So we'll be sending you an email after with all these resources, the slides, as well as the information about the other upcoming integration webinars. All right, so that concludes today's webinar. But if you have any questions, just email us at support@quartzy.com and we'll be happy to help you out. Thanks so much, everyone, for coming.